National Institute of Technology, Patna. Dr. Singh is currently serving as the head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in NIT Patna. He has completed his PhD from University of Calcutta. He has more than 30 international journal publications and more than 50 conference proceedings. Dr. Singh has co-authored 7 textbooks in C programming, data structures, operating systems, and ad hoc networks with reputed publishers such as McGraw-Hill and Springer. His research interests focus on social media mining, deep learning, social network, and information security. He is a member of many technical societies, just to name a few: IEEE, ACM, Computer Society of India, and many more. He is an associate editor of International Journal of Electronic Government Research and guest editor of Multimedia Tools and Applications and Complex Intelligent Systems Springer. I, on behalf of our institution, would like to welcome Dr. J.P. Singh to deliver his today's talk. Over to you, sir. Thank you. Sir, excuse me, I think you are muted. We cannot hear you right now.
Oh, sorry. So thank you for this nice introduction, and thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me to give a presentation, a talk on how to write an effective and good paper. Uh, and to all the participants, those who are attending today late in the evening at around 8 o'clock. So I do not know exactly what earlier speakers have covered. As I have told, my topic will be LaTeX as a tool for scientific writing. But before, so let me start my presentation. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thanks for the confirmation. Now, okay. So LaTeX as a tool for scientific writing. So I will start with, say, first, writing papers is nothing, but it's conveying your ideas. So whenever we are writing any paper, we are in fact conveying whatever is inside our mind, whatever we have experimented, whatever we have gathered from the society or from the research topic, and that's what we are writing. Writing good papers means conveying your ideas effectively. So if we are effective in our, effectively, if we are putting our ideas in the written context, that means we are writing good papers. However, if we read a paper or if we write a paper, there is a structure which normally the scientific community follow. So I do not know whether this has been covered or not, but briefly I will go through this. This structure is popularly called as IMRAD structure. I hope this has been covered in detail. Can someone confirm me so that I can skip some portion of this?
Sir, you can continue with this only.
Okay, so the normal structure what the scientific community follow for paper writing is popularly known by the word IMRAD, I-M-R-A-D. And if you look at the full form is I for introduction, M for methods, R for results, A small a for and D for discussion. So we structure our paper around this. So we structure our paper with a introduction, method, result, and discussion. So what we write in introduction? So introduction is in fact the most important part of a paper, and introduction and discussion. So normally when we say that whenever a new scholar when we say to our scholars how to read a paper, so we say that, okay, you go through abstract first and then filter it out. And after that you go to the introduction and then you go to the discussion. So introduction contains what if we are writing, what exactly have I done? So what exactly I have done, what I have found, and why we did it. So it's like a marketing place. So you are marketing your ideas. Look, this is what I have got, and look, this research is important. So first thing in a research paper you have to, or anyone has to put is, okay, this research has importance in the market. This is indispensable. This has to be done. So once we can establish that idea, that motivation, okay, there is a need of this one. And then after that, we need to put, okay, there is a need, but still there is a lacking. So there is a gap. So whatever is the need, we do not have sufficient literature or sufficient material or sufficient method for that. So to fulfill that need. So first of all, we have to establish that need. That means why, once that need is established, and then we can easily answer this question, why did we did it? Why we have done this research? Once we have done this, then obviously we will also put forward, okay, some other people have done this work, but they were having certain gaps, and that's where I filled this gap and all those things. So it is the place. In fact, uh, uh, if you call any editors, basically the journal editors have an office. And not all paper what we are submitting is reaching to the editor-in-chief, or basically that guest editor or whosoever is the editor. The papers, whatever we are submitting, normally it says that, okay, it is submitted. In several journals, it says that it is submitted. And then after 2-3 days, it says that it has gone to the editor. Sometimes in some journal, they are fast and they directly say that it has gone to editor. But normally it is the editorial office which goes through this paper. Initially, they screen this paper, whether this paper fits in the scope of this journal or not. And if it doesn't fit into that journal scope, normally it is rejected from that place, what we call it as a desk reject. So we get a lot of desk rejects also saying, and sometimes it might happen that even your paper is fitting into that journal, you are getting a desk reject. The reason is only, although the content, whatever you have written, the methods, the result, the discussion, whatever you have written is well fitted to that journal, but introduction is probably not appropriate. Mostly this introduction should be in a very non-technical way. It should not contain too many, say, technical jargons, because it is read by say normal graduates, because in that editorial office, there are normal graduates which are normally going through these papers, or they may be from other backgrounds. So if it is too technical in the introduction, they may not find it interesting, and they may say to advise to the editor, okay, this is not fitting into this, or this is not good, and it can get a desk reject. So this is the most important place where we need to take care. And we need to at least answer this question into this introduction section, what we did, what others did, and why we did it. Then we come to the, and after introduction, normally while writing, so this others do. So this we normally create another section sometimes called as literature review. And we put our others do into that literature review. Sometimes if the literature review is, if it is a new field, we can even merge in the introduction. But if we merge the whole literature review in introduction, it will become very lengthy. So that's why it is normally advised, okay, you create another section called as literature review. Methods. So the next come is method. What did, how did you do it? So what was the technique you applied? So considering, since I'm from a computer science background, so what sort of models you used, what sort of tools, what sort of algorithms you developed, and all those things. So that will go into this methods. If it is related to some data collection, so what sort of data we collected, what sort of pre-processing we did, and how we developed, what is the structure of the model, and all those things we write in the method section. This method section is followed by the result. So in result, we state what exactly was the finding in that. So what we found has to be represented by a certain table and figures, because the result, even if you write it in complete sentences, sometimes it becomes very difficult to go through and get the complete picture of that. So it's better to find certain pictures, or basically develop some graphs and some sort of tables where by which you can represent your results effectively. And finally, the discussion. Again, that's one of the most important part, and a lot of, in fact, paper, uh, again, gets rejected at a later stage while review is due to, say, poor writing or say poor framing of this discussion section. So in fact, discussion section reflects what we have promised in the introduction section. So if you take it in other way, we say in our introduction section, we have promised something. Okay, this is what I'm going to do in this one. And then in the discussion section, we have to say that, okay, I have done what I have. So what was my finding? So what if I have told that, okay, something is going to, this parameter is going to be important, then discussion, considering this result, we will establish, okay, after experiment, we found that this parameter, this making algorithm, or this technique is really effective. So what those results mean? Basically, in results section, we have created the tables or figures or graphs. But what exactly those graphs mean? What exactly those results mean? Why they are coming? All those answers or all those things should be discussed in discussion section. So normally it should start with the major finding of this research is this, excuse me. Then another finding of this research is something like this. And then why we got this sort of research. So these are the parameters, these are the things which are influencing the results. This is again something, say something good we as a you can say by product of finding from this experiment we obtained. And then here also we compare our results with the other existing literature. So if someone has already, we have told that, okay, some people have done this sort of work or similar work. So where we stand into that one. And obviously if you are communicating, obviously you will always prove that my results are better than that. So merely writing that in table, they have done something and I have done something, then you have to just say why we are going to get or why we have got a better result than them. So these are the major section in any research paper, and introduction, methods, results, and discussion, popularly called as MRAT. These sections are followed by a conclusion. So a conclusion section normally contains the conclusion of whole, that means this whole MRAT structure. So starting from introduction to discussion, what we have got. So in some sentences, again, sorry, in discussion, we also add exactly what are the limitations of this work. So the first part of discussion starts with exactly what was the finding, where we stand with respect to other researchers in terms of the results, why this result somehow might have occurred, some inference from that, and then finally, what are the limitations of that particular research. In conclusion, we start with, again, there is a need of this research, so we started with this, then we got this much of, we developed a model like this. So one line from introduction, one line from methodology, and then from discussion, okay, this is where we stand. Now that can be written as written in, say, discussion section, can be reframed as a future work. Okay, in future, this can be taken, this can be done, this is how it can be, and these things can be added in this particular research and it can be extended in future papers. Then comes the acknowledgement. So here we acknowledge the people who have helped us in this particular research, to all colleagues and also and so on. Then followed by the references. So we basically detail out the earlier work in proper format according to that journal. And supporting materials nowadays, supporting material, I mean to say, sometimes if it is data oriented work, now a lot of journals are asking for the data which you have used. And if this data is developed by you, can you upload that data to their system and make it, say, with a CCS license, CC license, can you make it free to other researchers? If you have downloaded something from the internet or from other sources, you just give their URL so that the other people can get it. Some other journals also ask for some graphical abstract, like Elsevier journal are very particular about this. So they prefer you support or you give certain graphical abstract. Even I have seen some journals, they are now asking for if you can give a 2-3 minute of video, say briefing, or say clip, video clip, what you have done in this particular research in 2-3 minutes of clip. So all those things goes into that supplementary materials. So this is the normal structure of a paper. But while writing this paper, normally we take a different way. So the section will remain same, but while writing, so again, I told that while reading, we read it in a different way. So while reading, we start with introduction and then go to the discussion. And if you feel that, okay, this paper is within my scope of my research, so that I can refer it and I can get some idea from this, then we normally advise students to go to the methodology section to understand the methodology. Otherwise, there is no need. So because the introduction will give you what is claimed, discussion will say what sort of results they have obtained. But while writing, we take a different approach. So we first start with the results. So obviously we have done some experiments, then only we are trying to write a paper. So with the results, whatever we have obtained, we try to draw a figure, we try to create tables, tabulating that results, depicting that results through nice figures and all those things. So once that figure and tables are completed, normally we go for the writing of the methodology section. So what are the instruments we have used, what sort of methods we have used, what sort of algorithms we have used, and so and so. And then after that, we write up the results. So whatever figure and tables we have created, we will write, or we will describe those figures and table next. Or remember one thing, that never a figure or table should be unsighted. So whenever you draw a figure, or you or you create a table, that table or that figure should be referred in the text, writing something these results this is better than this, or the result of this methodology, or the result of this algorithm is shown in this figure. The data are tabulated in this table. So table number, figure number, and all those things. And these are again why I started with this one, because this is one of the major sources of mistakes in Word documents. So if someone is writing paper in Word document, these figures and tables, they are one of the headaches. Why they are headache? Because say as a scholar, someone has written, someone has created the tables and figures, and then okay, the table and figure are final. But once he has developed or written the complete paper, say you have figure number 1, then figure number 2, figure number 3. And then the supervisor says, no, you look, what happens that figure 2 should come first. And then I think let's have table 2, and then the figure 3, and then finally figure 1. So this is not in correct order. So change this order. Now, as soon as this order is being changed in Word, and if you mistakenly, if you do not change that caption, basically the number what you have given, so everything and if it goes undetected and you submit it to journals, the reviewer will find those sort of mistakes in one instance, and they will immediately write that, okay, the authors have not, the figure captions are not good, the figure numbers are not proper, and so and so. And at the start, from the beginning, that starts creating a negative impact in the reviewer's mind. So as a reviewer, so even for us also, we are human beings. So as a reviewer, if we get a paper and which we can see a simple mistake from the beginning, then obviously we start with a negativity about that paper. So even if there are some good things, might be that paper is going to get a negative, very negative feedback, and eventually might be rejected. Then after this result, you write the discussion, then finalize the result and discussion again, and then write the introduction. So introduction is coming after all these things. So method, result, and discussion, and then finally introduction is coming. Now, the question is why we are saying that, okay, the results, say introduction should come at last, because whatever results you have got and whatever you have discussed in the discussion section, your introduction should be based on that. As I told that you are making a promise in the introduction section, and then that promise is being fulfilled in the discussion section. So it's better to take a reverse way. So you have fulfilled something, and accordingly you make your introduction. Okay, this is what we are going to do, because already you have that, you have done that. So that will be, because if your discussion is insufficient, then it is very difficult to objectively demonstrate the scientific significance of your work in the introduction. And if you write your introduction first, it might happen that you miss something in the discussion section. So it's always a better way to write discussion first and then introduction. And after that, you write a conclusion. And obviously, I have told that you have to write a compelling introduction. The introduction is the, you can say, the whole and soul of your paper. Even if the other parts are a bit weaker, but introduction is good enough, at least it will get a concentration. It will get a readership. But if the introduction part is weak, the other parts are not going to get any readership. And at the last, we write the abstract. That comes at the last. After the whole paper is complete, we write the abstract, because then we know the complete structure of the paper, what we have done, what we have written into that paper, and based on that, we write as abstract. And then what you might have given a tentative title at the start. Then even if you have given a title, you now think over again whatever has been developed and try to give a concise and descriptive title. Then select certain keywords for the indexing, write the acknowledgement and organizing reference. And that's again the last part. These references are again a headache. Why headache? So say if you have collected around 30, 40 references, which is very normal in a journal paper. So if you have around 40 references and you have completed the paper and you have submitted it to your supervisor, and your supervisor, or if you are supervisor, your student has submitted you, and then you see, okay, say this reference is not good. So can you replace this reference? Can you delete this reference? Or can you add one new reference? So as soon as you do that, the numbering system, if you are using Word sort of structure, Word as a tool for paper writing, then the numbering will get changed. And if the numbering gets changed, it will again take hours for you to arrange those things or arrange all those numberings and so and so. And these are the point where LaTeX comes very handy. Why? I will come to that. So again, it's just whatever I have told in introduction. The introduction should contain the topic. Studied should be the first issue. So you define hypothesis and objective, and review the literature related to the topic, and select some paper at around say 30. This will be listed in reference. Again, the third points. So each publisher has its own style guideline and preference. So if it's Elsevier, they have their own guidelines and preferences. Even in Elsevier, different journals might have slightly different guidelines, slightly different preferences. Springer has a different format. IEEE has different format. Not a single format. Even IEEE has got a lot of formats according to the journals. So before, if you are using Word or similar tools, you have to consult the publisher's guide for author to just frame the structure, how your paper will appear. So this itself, and if your paper, if you have submitted it to Springer and say somehow it gets rejected, it got a rejection from Springer, and then now you say thought of, okay, I will submit it to some other journal and that belongs to say Elsevier, then you have to reframe, or in fact you have to reformat the complete paper, and that will take hours to do, to convert it to Elsevier format. But LaTeX can do it in minutes. So now I think with this introduction, might be these topics already might have been covered, or even they will be covered in the subsequent program. Next 2 days, I hope it will continue. So why LaTeX now? So LaTeX is a great typesetting tool. So this is the important point. LaTeX separates the style and content. So you have a content on one hand, style on the other hand, whereas Word has style and content tied together. So it's a very tight system. So you have style and the content tied together, whereas latex has a very flexible system. So you have content at one hand and style at other hand. So that's why changing style is very simple, very easy. No need to worry about the number of sections, figures, tables that I have already told while establishing those things. We have beautiful math equations. Again, these are another headache while we are typing something in Word. Writing those equations and giving proper names to numbers to those equations, and if we just somehow misnumber those numbers, and that gets into the eye of reviewer, we'll immediately get a comment. Then the last part is reference management. I have already told. So why latex? What we do in latex? So I will demonstrate this also. So we have to just use, as I told, that style and content are different. So in latex, we have style files. So we can write our content in any editor. So whether it's a notepad, whether it's a simple VI editor on Linux, or any text editor you take, Notepad++, you take any text editor and you can write code there, or basically you can write your text. And then these style files normally are given by the publishers. So they have specified everything. Everything I mean to say, what is the paper size on which this particular article will be finally published if it is accepted. And then what are the type, say font size, font types, then is it say, what is the margin on that paper size, how much from top, how much from bottom, side, and if it is 2 columns, and then what should be the gap between those 2 columns, and then if it is say some sort of say the size of the title page, the size of the author's name, size and font of the author name, and then the author affiliation, then size and font of the abstract, size and font of the rest of the text, section headers name, the captions, if there is a table and figure, then obviously each table and figure will have a caption. Then what is the size of that caption, the font of that caption, and all those things. So all those things are normally written. You might have seen that normally when you try to write a paper in the paper size is this is adjust everything. In Linux, in LaTeX, just use the correct style file. That's all. So you just find out the style file from the publisher site, add it, you are done. Now, before going to demonstrate exactly how this works, I will just show you, tell you the source, although I know that a lot of you might be using and having a knowledge of all this. Still, just for a completion, I will try to give you the links, basically the details. So there are basically 2 flavors of latex available on the website or accepted across the world. One is called as the TextLive, which is no doubt quite bigger and quite comprehensive, but this requires huge space, around 5 GB, I think currently. I can check, let me check the size of these files. So there are this, sorry, this one. So if I say, so the size is around 4 GB, 3.72 GB. So that's quite big, but it includes a lot of things. And the other one is MikeText. It's a bit on a lighter side. So the current size of MikeText will be around 1 GB only. And initially MikeText was the only possible, in fact, a better option for Windows, but I prefer, even this is a Windows system from where I'm making this presentation, but I have TextLive installed into this one. So nowadays, I have, these slides are older, but nowadays even MikeText is available for all the platforms. So it's for Linux, Windows, Macs, everything. Earlier, it was only when MikeText started, it was only for Windows, but now it's available for always. So I'm sorry for mistake in this slide. So this will be always on also. Or you have TextLive, which is available on this site. And then you install any one of these 2 as per your choice. So either you can go for TextLive as a, even TextLive you can download as a torrent file also, or you can have, I think, okay. So this is the link from where you can find out this TextLive. So tug.org/TextLive acquire net license. So this is the original website. And here, if you go to download, you can see, even you can get a torrent option also. So you can get a torrent. So even with that torrent size, you can easily download it. I have seen that. The other one is, as I told, so this is MikeTeX. So now it is available for Windows, Mac, Linux, Docker, and all possibilities now. And the last one, which is not there in that slide now, is called as Overleaf. There are several other platforms also, but since I'm comfortable in Overleaf, so that's why I'm just showing you Overleaf. So Overleaf is basically a collaborative platform. So you do not need to install any software on your system. So anywhere you have, if you have internet connectivity, you can go and you can register yourself on Overleaf. And so here you can register in the Overleaf. Since I'm registered, I'm just logging into the system. So let me log in into the system. So if I log in, you can see that there are a lot of papers what I have developed over the years are already there. So it's there on the web or cloud, whatever you say, and you do not need any software for this. So it makes you free from everything. You do not need to carry your laptop. You do not need to carry your system. So wherever, whether you are in home, whether you are in office, whether you are on the go, if you have a connectivity, you can edit your paper at any way, at any place. And all the packages are already there. So you do not need to worry about this. Like if you want to create a new one, so there are several options. So you can create a blank project. You can create example project. You can even, if you have developed something, at your place and then you want to make it online, so you can upload the project. Even you can upload something, import from something from GitHub also. So like if I just click on one paper, so I will come to this, what it all means. So it's written here. I will come to those sections one by one. And here you can see it's compiling. So it will just show me the output of that. So this is how this looks like. So you do not need any software. So everything is already there. So we just need to, I will come to this, what this document class and all those things. So it's there, but it's so simple now. So those who fear that, okay, it takes a lot of expertise or it requires a lot of resources, now it's not a matter. So it's available online. So you can easily do it. Say if I just create a new project. So say an example project I'm creating. So I can give a, say, demo LaTeX. So it has just created a demo page. And first line, you will see that any, let me make it bigger one. Okay. I hope this should be visible to everyone. So the first line, so this skeleton, you can see this is a skeleton of a LaTeX program, you can say. And this skeleton you can get. So if you think that I will write a paper for, say, Springer, you can go to Springer website and you can download their version of this demo file. So what you will get in those demo files, the first line will be always a document class. So what sort of documents you are, what sort of document this is, whatever you are going to develop. Even this slide, what I was presenting, this slide was also presented in or made in LaTeX only. So this whole slide was made in LaTeX. I will even show you the codes for this slide. So the first one is, there we use a class called as Beamer. So since we are trying to write a paper, the document class is article. And then you require several packages. So packages is just like in any, say, programming language, we require something, or in normal life, we require something as a support tools or something is there. So we hire them or we take services of them. So to read some sort of here, this use package UTF-8, basically it is used to use the say non-ASCII characters, I mean to say simply. So UTF-8 means it will, if it is, there is no non-ASCII characters, and if it is UTF-8, it can read that. So don't, let us just remove this one right now. Then the next thing, whatever you will get is title. So here you can write your own title. So this is my title. And now you recompile it, and here you will get that instead of demo Linux, now a demo LaTeX, you have now, this is my title. So author, write author, now we have two authors, so say, so now we have two authors. Date, if you want, good. If you do not want, you can comment it out. So percent symbol in LaTeX is basically a comment. So now if I compile it, it will not show the date. Sorry, not comment, it's yes, I hope. Oh, that's comment. So don't use micro parameter. No, it's not working. Okay, I have to check it. Why this is not working? Why it's taking the current date? Let me check this. So, but okay, next is this one, use package NatWeave. NatWeave is normally used to reference this one. So there's references. If it is for number, then we use NatWeave. And graphics, if you want to put graphic, say pictures, then obviously these packages, these two packages are going to be part of any document. So there is a section from here you can get. So this section is for title. So you can see here, make title. So you have title, author, and if it is from a specific publisher, you will have several other informations there. Then certain packages you will use, and then begin document, and then section. So if you have abstract, you can write abstract here. And then comes the sections, the different sections of the paper. So as I told, so this is say the first section, introduction. So we can start writing this by slash section and then the name of that section, and now we can write anything here. So if you want to include a figure, now normally in Word we embed a figure, and if we embed a figure, it can sometimes, again, that embedding a figure in Word itself is a difficult task. Here we write a simple code for that, or simple, you can say simple lines, so 4 or 5 lines we write. In fact, this one line is sufficient to include this figure. Let me just show you. This one line is sufficient to include this figure. So in this one line, we are saying include graphics. So now you can see this figure is included. So include graphics, and you can scale this graphic. So if I say this is say 4 times of the original figure, whatever it is. So this figure will become bigger. So this one line itself, include graphics, this adds this figure, and this scale factor is basically making this figure bigger and smaller. But why we require other things? Because in this figure, you can see there is no caption, and where to place this figure, in the middle, left, right, top, down. So for that, we write certain sections. So we create an environment, we call it as environment. So begin figure to end figure is an environment. So from here to here, we have an environment. And in this environment, everything is centered. So centering command gives everything will be center aligned. Then obviously the graphics command, what I have already told you. And then a caption. Caption is something which will appear here. So if I recompile it again, you can see here figure 1, the universe. So this is you can see that this caption will appear here. So this is an example of caption. Then this label is something which is assigned with, like, it's like with a product we assign a label or a barcode sort of things, and then later on we can access that product with that barcode or that name. So label appears or label works in the same way. So if we assign a label with this one, say if I want to call this figure here, so here I am just referring this figure slash, and then I write ref. So I am referencing what I am referencing. I am referencing this figure. So you can see that there is a ref universe or whatever is there inside the label. So you can just copy it and you can paste it. So if you do this, now you compile. So here you can see here figure 1. So here you can see figure 1. So this 1 automatically comes. Never I have written figure 1. So that's what I was trying to say at that time, that even if, say, my supervisor or to my student, if I say that, okay, you remove this figure and in place of this, you place another figure. So that doesn't matter here, because we have never say called this figure by the number. Since we have called this figure with the label, so as soon as I just give another label. So if I say if there is another figure, say here, say, or if I give us a label for this section, so even for this section, I can give a label. Let me, since we do not have any figure here, so it's not possible for me to add any figure, but this is my second caption, and say figure 2 if I write it. Now let me compile it again. So now you can see that there are 2 figures. And say if I want to refer figure 2 here, so just I need to change figure 2. And then if I compile at the start, you will find out that this is figure 2. Okay. So even if we change the location, so whatever location, at whatever location this is written, obviously that will appear in that order, no doubt, but these numberings will not affect. And these are the headaches while we are writing a document, and if it is say 20 pages long and we have say 10, 15 figures, and then some figures have been changed from one location to another location, so their number will change. So even if you just swap these 2 figures, and say if this would have been a different figure, even if I swap this figure will automatically, if it comes before this, it will automatically become first figure, and this will become second figure. So we do not need to do anything manual, because this number 1 was never written by me. You can check, we have never written the number, neither here we have written any number. So this 2 is basically just second figure you can write. If you feel that. So we have never written that. So that's how a similar case will occur with the tables also. So similarly, we can call a table. In fact, these labels can be given to anything. Even to this introduction section, I can give a label. So label intro. And say at a later part of my say work, I want to refer. So as told in introduction, say introduction, and then we can say ref, so intro. And now let us compile it. You will find out here as told in introduction 1. So this one is for reference. In fact, I will come to that later on. So now you can see. So this is in 1. So this one is in fact referred here. Okay. So it works in that way. So even if we change these sections, say section is removed from one place to another place, and if you have a cross reference like this, you do not need to worry. Let me just give you a better example because this is very limited. So let me just give us an example of our own paper. So there we have a lot of figures and lot of, so that I think I will be in a better position to explain you. So you can see this document, this paper is written in Springer format. So since this is written in Springer format, you can find out that document class now is not simple article. In earlier case, I told that document class is article. Instead of that, we have written here SVJOUR3. If you go to Springer side, you can find out that this is the style file Springer journal uses. If I want to make it like, we have another paper here, which is for Elsevier. I hope that this paper was written for, I think this was written for Elsevier. So yes, so you can see that this again document class, even these are just for review. You can remove this one. Document class else article. Because this is a Springer journal, sorry, Elsevier. Elsevier have their own format, and that whole style, what I was talking about, that the whole style will be written in this STY file. This STY file. So this is the name of this STY file, else article. You can even find out here. So this is the Springer journals format. I think the next one is Elsevier. And then here we have begin document, then title, author, all these things. If you download this format, everything is already there. You just need to change it. These things are hard coded by that particular, in fact, the journal publishers. So they have told, and this is where we just fit our content. And then say like references. So as I told, one of the major problem is these references. So if you look into the references here, so there now we have around 45 references. And if the journal says, no, I want these references to appear in author year style. So sometimes say here we can see that the references are given in numbers. So this is another issue, I think, sorry. Okay, you can see that the references are given by numbers, but sometimes some journal says that, okay, the references should be like here. You can see the numbers are given, but sometimes some journals accept it not in numbers, but they accept it in some author year style. So it should be the last name of the author and then the year. So if we have to do it in Word, you think of that issue. If you have to do it in Word, here we can easily do it. So I hope I have not, okay, we have converted it to BY item. Let me just show you. So you can see here we have bibliographies. We have two commands here. One is bibliography style and one is the bibliography file. One major important point, or one more important, the better point what I find with LaTeX is maintaining the bibliography. So as my research is progressing, I'm going through, so I will be working in one particular domain, and in one particular domain, if I am developing my paper, my thesis and my research work, I will be no doubt collecting similar sort of papers over the year. So how to maintain all those things? So LaTeX has a very beautiful tool called as, where is that? Sorry. No, it is not so, sorry. Multi-modal, because this is something. File outline. Let me just check. Results, methodology related work. Big file is not there. Okay, actually here we do not have big files. I think in this one I should have big file. Okay, big file list, right? So what latex gives us is a BIP file manager. So this is a BIP file manager. So here I have kept all the references. So if you look into the references, whatever I have used here in this article, I have used only around 45 to 50. And here you can see that these references are maintained in, say, author year style. So author year style, I mean to say they are being referred in this format. So here, like Davidson, this. And what is the problem in this case is sometimes if it starts with the name, then here we do not read a bracket here. But if it ends with the name, then we need a bracket at the end. So complete bracket for that. Let me just show you. No Mandel. So Gilbert, unfortunately, it's very difficult to locate that. Okay, although we had made a mistake here, it should be, I think. So this is what every time you go through the paper, you will always find out some mistake. In fact, this bracket should have been here. So it proposed by Farsini here, and then it should end here. It should not start at this location. If it is the first symbol, so after dot, then obviously there will be no bracket. Bracket will be here. But if it is inside this comment, then the bracket should have been started at this location. So that's a problem. So let me just show you how easily I can do it by just a command, and how easily I can convert from this say author year style to number style. And this is, by the way, before doing that, let me just explain what is the BIP file, because these are the contents or these are the parts what you require. So as I told, here we have around 40 to 45 references. But if you look into this, we have gathered around 100 references or around 60, 70 references. So as we go through the paper, as we download the paper, we get a reference. Now how to maintain, that's again sometimes. So what I suggest to everyone, or to my scholar at least, so what I do to collect these references is I go to this website, scholar.google.com. Then let me just take any reference here, say this one, search for this, you will get this paper. And then if you click on this one, you will get the citation one. So MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, Vancouver. So there are different citation styles. And then EndNote, RefMan, reference works, and there is a BibTeX. So I click on this BibTeX and I just copy it and I normally just paste it. And you can see that this is the same thing what we had earlier. So because from that source only it was collected. If in some cases it might happen that some of the references here are not complete, then you have to consult the papers, the original paper. Even if you go to original paper, you can get similar structure. So this way we collect references and we put it in a file called as bib file. You can see here. Any name you can give here. So you can name this to your own name, to your say research topic name, something like that. And you can keep on building your bib files. So basically all the references, all the papers you are studying, you can just keep on adding there. So at the end you have say thousands. Now are you going to refer 1,000? No. What we are doing here is, if you look into this paper, so as we are moving on to write this paper, so since we are moving on, so we are writing this paper, what we do, we give a command called as cite. So sometimes you can see here we have written cite P and sometimes cite. So wherever it is cite P, you can now check into the introduction section the mistake what I was talking about. Here you will find out that this is, say here, this starts with this. So there was a mistake. So it starts with this. So we give cite and then the paper. Now, it at the start, it will be a bit cumbersome. But in this tool, if you say just remember the first name, if I write cite, and then if you remember the first name, you can find out chain. And then related to chain, there are two papers. So which one I'm looking into? Second one, so I can easily call. So this one. So now you can see instead of say site P, if I do site, what it will do. If I do this, so now you can see that the bracket will come here. So now you see the bracket has come to this location. Okay, so this is the site P. This is one thing. And then if we want to convert it to number or say other format, so here you can see the formatting style. So here we have followed Chicago style. So if I use say this one, model 5 or say, so now you see the references. The references are in this format. So if I write say simple plain, now you see you have the number, and everywhere in the paper we have the numbers, corresponding numbers. So at another day again the editor says no, I require it in Authoria style. So I just change it to that Chicago style. There are several other styles, not only Chicago is. So there are several other styles. Just recompile it. You have that. This is a very difficult issue in Word, maintaining those references and calling them. And if I just, so now you have again. So you can see here. So let me just show you plain, because with that number it was not available. So already it's 9 o'clock. Just I will require 2-3 minutes to finish. So now say if I remove this one, say 23, reference number 23, which is say Anita Saroz, Saroz. So I think this was the paper. So say somehow if I remove this, is there any other one? Say yes, my supervisor told or my student told said this is not a good paper. So I just removed it and compiled it. Now what happens? All other papers which are appearing after this should be now numbered with, so the numbering should go up and this would be changed. And now you can see that this is at location 23. So if you now go to 23rd location, you can really find that that is now referring to. So here if I just print 23, so now you see, and if I just click on this, you can see this 23 is this one. In fact, that's our own paper only. So this is because otherwise you think of in Word. Once you have say removed that, not only you have to change this number, this lower side, these numbers, you have to correspondingly map everything, whatever you have written in the whole paper to these numbers. And that's a very tedious job. So I think there are a lot of things to be told or say done in latex. So just told, so I've just told this one. So as I told, so we have stylistic uniformity, bibliography support, sophisticated structuring ability, reference tracking, and highly expandable capability. We also have spell checkers for this. It gives a complete control over this formatting and provide a graphical interface. Sorry that I did not mention to you that if you download this software, what I just told to you, I think softwares of this. So if you download this software doesn't have any interfaces. So I prefer downloading one more package called as TextMaker. So I hope this is visible. Why I prefer TextMaker or TextStudio? TextMaker is a cross-platform, so it can work on say Unix, Windows, Linux, Mac OS. So on any OS you can run it. So once you have this, if you are downloading it on local system, once you have this TextLive or MyText, you download TextMaker after that and you install it. So if you do that, you can get something. So you can say text maker. So some set of on your local system, you will get something like this. So here you can say. Now this is the code for that, the presentation, what I'm presenting today. So you can see again, this is document class Beamer. And you have presentation mode. You have several themes for this. So you can change the themes. And this is what I had written here. And if I want to change themes, so you have already seen the presentation. So if I change it to say WRSAW and again compile it. So it's not compiling. So now you see that I think the style had changed here. So in introduction, you see in this one, it was something like this. Now you see in introduction, you are seeing you are getting something like this, and the coloring style and all those styles have been changed simply by just a simple change in the just a one statement change. The theme, I have just changed the theme. Again, you can say, okay, sir, in presentation we have similar themes, so we can change it. No doubt. I'm not disarguing, or I'm not saying that Word doesn't have these features. Even in Word also nowadays we have several good features to work with. And but obviously I prefer Linux and LaTeX, and I hope that I have given you enough motivation, say examples, why I prefer Linux, LaTeX, and why someone can go for it. So with that, I'd like to thank you. It's already 5 past 9, so I will not take too much of your time. Thank you for your patience, listening and staying with me for 1 hour. So any suggestion, comment, points from your side?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful talk. We all have enjoyed a lot today and learned many things about LaTeX writing tool. And I hope all of us will be using this tool for writing our own research papers from now onwards. Now, this is the question answer time. If any participants, if you would like to ask anything, please unmute yourself and you can ask now. Yeah, so there are many appreciation in the chat box. Wonderful lecture. And thank you messages.
Thank you to all the participants for their staying in this around 9 o'clock. Everyone, it's now dinner time for everyone. Still they are with me. That's really great for me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Nilanjana madam, there
Sir.
was one question from Professor Sanjay Mondol, sir. What is your opinion about online LaTeX editor? Is it safe?
So, sir, that's very difficult to answer. It's not in my control. But just to add, we are using it. Obviously, we are not doing so sensitive research. So for that, right now we are using it to collaborate with other, say my collaborators and students. Now in Corona time, that was one of the say better option to collaborate with the student. But regarding security, there is always a question, even inside my mind also. But
sir, there is one more question from Shohini Dotto, madam. She has written, can this tool be applied for social science or management research? TechMaker. She wants to ask.
Yes. There is nothing that it cannot be applied in any field. In fact, say like I have several, but To ma'am, to answer ma'am, I must say that I have my collaborators who are from management sciences, and most of their journals, the journals they prefer Word documents. So if in ma'am's research area, most of the journals are preferring Word, then obviously it's a difficult theme or difficult thing to do for her. But otherwise, there is nothing which will stop someone from using or writing the paper in LaTeX. But obviously, the question of if I am writing a paper and the journal doesn't accept in that format. So it had happened with me also in some cases that I have to convert a paper from LaTeX to Word because that journal was not ready to accept it. Then obviously, this is not a good option in that case.
Yes, sir. Our chat box is getting flooded with a lot of appreciation for this lecture. And sir, I think we would like to hear more such lectures from you in future.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
So
much.
really,
Thank
it was really nice because I was going through, so a lot of people are still there. So that's really great. Thank you to everyone, to all the participants and all those who are listening. So really, it's a big thank from my side.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you all the participants. So if there is no further question, then with this we can conclude today's session over here. Thank you very much for joining this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye. Good night. Good night,
Good
to
night,
everyone.
sir.
So where is that control to leave? Because
Yes, sir. You should stop sharing your screen. Then you'll get the option to leave the session.
okay, actually, what has happened? No, I have already 2 screens, so that's where
Oh,
everything has
yes.
now jumbled out. I'm not
Yes.
getting. Now I have got. Okay, I
Yes.
think the screen sharing is now off.
Yes, sir. It's off now.
Okay, thank you. Good night to everyone.
Good night, sir.
Stay
Good night,
safe.
everyone.
Thank you.